Good morning. This is John Harder with another episode of a live broadcast for Spreading the Wealth of TBC and Green Free Energy, episode 78. Episode 78 today. And so we want to talk about spreading the wealth of TBC and free energy. It is tremendous wealth that we're spreading and with TBC. Now, it is much more. Spreading the wealth of TBC is much, much more than just a lot of money. You know, when a person has a lot of money, it may be fairly easy for a person to I don't know, hand somebody a nice big pack of cash. But if that's all there's to it, then you got to ask yourself, have you really helped that person? Now, I know, I think most of us know that how should we say that people are in need of money? That would be a conclusion that we could very easily come to. But a person who is in need of money, in very many cases, there is a need that is deeper than just the need for money. Now, of course, this is understandable from a viewpoint of how should I say, not education from that happens in the school system. Education that comes from school, college, university, any of those places. You would not, with that education, you would never be able to really meet the need of humanity. Okay, because all of that education is based on the idea of lack. It is all based on the idea of being enslaved to a debt-based system. Okay, so when we look at meeting the needs of people and spreading the wealth of TBC to people, we're talking about way more than just giving people value in a monetary way. Okay, it's a much deeper need that we are serving than just the surface on top with some money. Now, mind you, every new person who joins the community of in the TBC community, right? Well, every person who creates a wallet for themselves, they do get a gift of cookies, which they can, which is redeemable for cash. Okay, so so there is a monetary value that comes in right off the bat. But what I'm saying is that if that is the if that's all we're looking for, and if that's all we're giving people, then we haven't really helped you. We have not really been doing our due diligence in helping. So what am I really talking about? Humanity, basically, as a how should I say, in most of the world, is in need of education. Not the kind of education that is taught in schools, but real education. Any person can very easily learn some math. Matter of fact, the equivalent of math that you learn in the school system isn't that hard to achieve. And of course, reading and writing, those are necessary skills. That is, those are the useful things, that people are actually learning in the school system. But we are talking about we're talking about meeting a need that is deeper than that. So the fact is that we are all of us alive, and these days we are born into a world that is where humanity is enslaved to a debt-based system. Our parents, our grandparents, none of them knew a different system. Now, I've said it before, if a person were to break out of a prison, well, he wouldn't be looking for a way out of prison if he has no idea he is in a prison. Well, that's basically where humanity is at today. Now, it is a wonderful thing to see that many people are breaking out of their prison. Now, this prison that we're in is actually not so much a physical prison as it is a mental prison. It is because we have been taught to think in such limited ways. But your mind has actually no limitations. You know, we are extremely limiting ourselves when we say that we don't have money. Anytime that we say that we don't have, well, then that is where we're setting the limit. And now, if we can see the unlimited power on the spiritual plane, as it were, in the plane where the mind operates, okay, when we can see that we are completely free, there is nothing stopping you from imagining being very wealthy. It doesn't matter how little a person has. It doesn't matter. If you can use your imagination, which no one can stop you from, nobody can stop you from using your imagination, because nobody has access to your imagination unless you voluntarily give over your imagination to others. Then they do have control of your imagination. Okay. Now, let's talk about that a little bit. How would you hand your imagination over to somebody else? It's actually a lot easier than we might think, and it's also being done a lot more than what you might be aware of. When we are born into this world, there is nothing stopping that person from imagining. We can see this in 3-year-old children. You know, uh, um, maybe even younger than 3. We can see children, young toddlers. We can see them using their imagination. When a child is beginning to try to walk, you know, they are imagining that they can walk. They are imagining it. They are seeing others walk, so they are imagining that they can walk. And because they imagine it and they see it again and again from others and imagining that they can walk, then pretty soon they start trying. And after, after a few, uh, after stumbling and falling down a few times, you know what? Next thing you know, they walk, and then pretty soon they run. All of the imagination is already built within. Now, if we would not have other people take control of our imagination, we would be doing amazing things. But once we get into school, then we are starting to be told to pay attention and start to be told to not wander off, not, you pay attention to this. This is what you pay attention to, the book or whatever. But what is happening in that situation is that your imagination is being controlled by someone else, because you would like to use your imagination to maybe you're sitting in school and you're thinking about the toy that you have or that you would like to get, and you are imagining yourself playing with that toy, but then you're told to pay attention and not use your imagination. Of course, they don't necessarily say don't use your imagination, but what they are doing is they're taking control of your mind, telling you that you have to pay attention to this. So it's all about indoctrination, to pay attention to authority and and uh, and act upon authority. When a figure of authority talks to you, you without question respond to that authority. Now, am I here to go and say that all that is very bad and all this and that? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that your imagination is very powerful, and that it is very important that you regain control of your own imagination. Because as you do, as you gain control of your imagination, and you imagine your world filled with abundance and prosperity, and you imagine you're helping many other people, and the secret to that is that you get your mind on something that you love doing, something that you have a passion for. Okay. And you have a passion for helping other people. If you have no passion for other people, to help other people, then you need to get your heart checked. Then something is not functioning correctly in your mind. You have a very distorted vortex if that's the case. So if you can only think of yourself and nobody else, then the debt-based system and the school system, all of that has had too much of an effect on you. The effect has been your self-worth, your sense of belonging. All of that has then been distorted, and you need to straighten that out. You need to go within yourself, because everything is within you. It's all in your mind, and it's not separate from your body, but it's all within you. What you then need to do is you need to quiet your mind, and this is actually very important to do every day, anyways. You know, we find in the Bible, it says to pray without ceasing. What does what does that mean? Does that mean we go and we beg all day long? We beg for some higher power up there? No, not really. That is not what that means. It means that when we pray without ceasing, that means we continually make connection with the reality of the spirit world. What is the spirit world? The spirit world is nature. Nature, all of visible nature comes from the spirit. And that is where we need to tap into in order to get the fulfillment in our lives. Okay. And so when we look and we at we look at spreading the wealth of TBC, then the first thing that we're talking about is, of course, the monetary value. But then we need to go deeper than that, and that is the education. In order for us to educate ourselves and get on higher ground from where we are, we need to understand where we are. It's the same as if you physically want to go somewhere. In order for you to know what direction you need to turn to go where you want to go, you need to know where you are in relation to where you want to go. It's that way everywhere. In a website, there is navigation, and if you have no idea what page you're on, and there is no navigation to go to any other page, there's really not much you can do on that website, is there? In order to do it, the website needs to be laid out, and you need to be able to see the where you are. And of course, if the information you're looking for isn't on the page where you are, the next thing you do is you look in the navigation to see where do I need to go. It's the same way on the road system. It's the same way on the spiritual path. The same way. You know, there is a teacher. One of the courses that I purchased a few years ago. Actually, it's quite a few years ago now. And I bought, I think it was 3 different courses from the same trainer. And the one phrase that I remember him repeating over and over and over was that everything works the same way. Everything works the same way. It may be at first a little difficult for us to understand and see that everything works the same way, but if we take some time and zoom out enough so that we can see the whole picture, we will soon realize that it's actually true. Everything begins on the spiritual plane. Nothing can come into existence without it first being, on a spiritual plane. It has to be. It has to first exist invisibly, and then it becomes visible. And this is how it works with sharing TBC. You see, I think that it is actually quite easy for us to be very, very busy, not getting much done, because we don't give enough. We don't create it on the spiritual plane first, and that is by using our imagination. That is where that begins. So using the imagination, you make the picture in your mind. You create this clear picture. And the more often you create that same picture, you bring that same picture back into your mind, contemplating on it, and convincing your inner self that you are bringing that picture into physical reality. Okay, that is when your subconscious is going to start guiding you into as to what steps to take to be able to bring that into existence. Now, let me just throw this into this same picture here. If your picture is only is if it's empty of that of helping other people, and getting the how should we say, seeing other people also enjoying the result of your service or whatever it is. If it's empty of other people, you need to probably start, go back to the drawing board and involve other people, involve everybody. The thing is this, and I haven't said this much, and I should probably say it more often. The spirit does not know the difference whether you are giving or receiving. It does not know the difference whether you are giving or receiving. It only acts on your feelings. So let's say you have the idea that you want to be wealthy, and you want to and you exclude other people. It's only for yourself. And in order to do that, your mind then begins to think, how will I keep this wealth for myself? How am I going to keep other people from stealing it? Okay. Well, as soon as you start, as those feelings begin coming into you, you have just shut the gate for your own wealth. It's not going to come, because your subconscious mind will make sure that you don't fall into the trap where you have to protect your wealth, because that was one of the concerns. And the subconscious will see to it that because it wants to save you, it wants to keep you safe. And so when you are contemplating on dangers, it makes sure that those dangers will not come to you. And because it has absolutely makes no difference between giving and receiving. And therefore, when we open up our gate for giving just as much as we want it open for receiving, that's when we have a free flow between giving and receiving, and it will come. It will come. If we have the gate shut, the gate of giving, if we have that gate shut, then we also cannot receive, because the same gate is used for both. In water and electricity and so on, we use what's called a well, in electricity it's called a diode. If you know something about electricity, then you know exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about a diode. In water, instead of it being called diode, we call it a check valve. What does that mean? It means that it's like a valve that lets the water only one way. It can't go back. It has to. A check valve is usually a pump has a check valve in it, so that when the water is pumped and deep from in the well, and if the pump shuts off, the water isn't going to rush back down into the well. The valve shuts it, and the water has to stay up there. In electricity, a diode does the same thing. Electricity can only go through one way. It won't let it fire back. It can only go one way. you cannot use a diode to bring wealth into your life. You cannot have a check valve in there if you want wealth in your life. If you want a life of happiness, you can't have a check valve in there. If you want friends, you have to be a friend. If you're not a friend, you can't have any friends. It's mutual. If you want wealth in your life, you have to, that gate has to be open the other way too. Now, I know, and you know, that there are people who are gaining massive amounts of riches and being that still are very stingy. But do you want to gain your wealth the way they do it? Not caring who who you hurt, who you kill. If a person, if you ever do any kind of research on the happiness of people like that, you will very easily find that they are the most miserable people. Now, why would we do that to ourselves? You see, it's when we get all mixed up, when our mind gets all mixed up into that we can only think of spirit, of of physical things, of the wealth, of being rich, physical riches, but there is no spiritual wealth there. So for us to spread the wealth of TBC, it's easy. It's very simple. You see, it begins by creating a wall. And then once inside, we have a community of people. And we are very much encouraged to avail ourselves of the information on the blog, where we're given the information as to what's going on with TBC, anything coming up, many encouragements, and so on. But also, what's more important is the information as to why TBC was created. You see, when we understand that, why it was made, we will begin to realize it is a tool. It is not an end in itself. It is a tool for us to become physically wealthy, but also that we can begin to realize what kind of a world we live in. And once we do, then we can, of course, educate ourselves more and see what we can do with this TBC and how we can help other people. And helping other people, that is where our wealth comes from. I am talking about true wealth. And when you are wealthy on the spiritual plane, you will have all the wealth you need on the physical plane. That is life. That is how life works. That is how life works. So we have a lot of entanglements in our mind. There is very much that we need, many knots and places our mind is entangled in the wrong thinking, thinking that does not serve us. Very often it has to do with relationships with other people. Now, let me just say this, that if there is a relationship between you and another person that is not, it just doesn't seem to go well, whether it's a relative or wherever that is, do you realize, or do you know how much power you have to fix that relationship? You know, we often say that relationships, when there is a fight, it's a two-sided fight. But listen, if you fix your side of it, it is it is practically a guarantee that that relationship will be fixed. If if from your side, if you fix it from your side so that you have no resentment, you have a complete openness, and you are from your side, you have completely forgiven, and you know, there's no grudge or anything, and you truly love that person and wish them all the best in life, that vibration that you are putting forth, they're going to pick that up and they're going to follow you. Okay. Now that is how that works. And I know people very often, there's trouble in their relationships with others, and they think that it's the other person's fault. They started it, they this, they that, and all of that. But listen, nobody can ever uh, screw up your vortex unless you let them. Now, here's what usually happens. Usually what we do is we make a problem about it if somebody doesn't treat us quite right. And we have these feelings about they did this and that, and for that I'm just not going to, you know, I'm not going to communicate with them anymore, or whatever the case. But every time we think about it and we are angry about what they did, we are setting them on a pedestal and we bowing down to worship them. That's basically what we do. Let me tell you something. In the Old Testament, if you are a Bible reader, in the Old Testament, we very much read about how much God hates idol worship. You know, we always again and again find that that there were these kings that would lead the nation into sin by worshiping idols. Well, that is the that is exactly what it's telling us. Whenever we have a broken relationship and we are focused on the problem of other people or anything outside of ourselves, we are then worshiping idols. That is idol worship. And the way that we are shown how much God hates that is by the poverty and the misery within ourselves. Okay. Always, always, every time we do idol worship, we get a miserable feeling as a result of it, and that is the karma for us putting our power over to somebody else and worshiping them or that situation or whatever that is. Okay, so now when we spread the wealth of TBC, then what we do thereby is that we are helping them financially, but we're doing much more than that. We are also we also want to help them to understand the prison that we are in, and the and that we're breaking out from, and also the economy that we're building over top of, you know, of you know, actually not over top. I'd rather see it as underneath. And the picture is this: that over top of reality, there is a fake layer that we are all born into, and we are all involved in this fake layer. It's the banking, the debt-based banking system, which has control of all of the resources and everything. Underneath that, where we are connecting with reality and with life, we are building another economy, one that is growing inside underneath it and coming up and making the other one obsolete. And that is what we're doing with TBC. And of course, free energy is also a very big part of it. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, when I mention free energy, I encourage you to visit the website in the description. It's simply Myfree.energy. And if you go through the information on the page, you will get a fairly clear picture as to what I'm talking about. And I know that like other people who have quite a bit of TBC has said to me before that if I have, I have so much TBC, I'm not worried about the bills, you know. Well, I realize that I'm not worried about the bills either. I have very much TBC. I know there's people that have more, and that's great. That's awesome. I'm glad they do. Uh, I'm very happy with what I have, and I'm very willing to give very much of that to the project of free energy to help people. And the only thing is that at this point, TBC is not prevalent enough in transactions in the marketplace. And so therefore, at this point, to get the ball rolling with the free energy, we appreciate people helping with the fiat system, in which case any uh, support with fiat money that I receive for that project, I replace it 100% with TBC. Okay. So anyone who is looking to get a few more coins of TBC, well, here's a great way to do it. You can support the free energy system, and as you do, I will replace uh, your contribution 100% with TBC. So it's the same as if you're buying TBC, only in this case, you are also helping with the free energy project. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it is a very, very large project that is that we are starting in many countries at the same time. Well, sort of simultaneously, anyways, where we're going to where we're going to start building these units. All right. So at this point, it's only in the beginning of development. We know what materials we need, and so on. There is going to be some developing time that is going to take place because of the magnets that these units use. They have to be magnetized exactly in the right way. Whereas magnetization, as most people are only aware of, is only that of a north and south of a magnet. But that is not how these magnets work. They have to be, it's very precise that they have to be magnetized. And so that is going to take, a bit of time for us to develop where we can really make them in very large quantities. Okay. So, and this is why quite a bit of money is required. And at this point, to get really moving with it, we do need fiat. Okay. So for those of you who see the big picture in what I'm talking about, let me just encourage you to think about it, get involved if you feel that you want to, and do please do share with other people also the idea, and direct them to my website if they have any interest. All right, and helping with that project. Okay, so that is basically the idea, is that we want to bring these free energy units to the common marketplace where people can just install them in their houses. And the reason for that is of course that that these all of these big lines of high voltage that go through everywhere, those will all be taken down. There won't be any need for that. The smart meters that are, you know, causing a lot of health problems, those will all be removed from houses. And of course, people in many countries who don't even have the luxury of electricity, they will all be able to have it. Okay, so that's where we're going. And if you can see the value in that, I encourage you to you know, to help out with the project and also share the idea with others, and so we can get uh, a more of a move on with this project. And so, and I am making connections with people who are knowledgeable for to work in the project, also as far also with people to network. And in the future, the Myfree.energy website, we're going to be changing it to a membership site and to a site where uh, we're going to use it for communication, as well as keeping updates, keeping everybody up to date as to where, you know, where we're at and what's going on and so forth. All right. So those are some things that are going to be coming up in the near future as well. So with that said, let me just encourage those of you who are watching this video who are not in TBC, and if you have found inspiration in what I have been talking about and you'd like to get involved, well, let me just encourage you, begin by taking the wonderful gift that we have of the free cookies that you get with the new wallet. Okay, and then of course there's questions to answer when you get the wallet. When you sign up, you will find there's 10 questions which will give you quite a bit of information as to what we're really about. And once you are, just, I'd say, indulge yourself in that blog and find the mission statement, find the information so that you have a true understanding about what TBC is really about. Okay. Um, Also, for those who are in TBC and have not migrated to the new wallet system, let me just really encourage you to get a move on that, because it's not long until migration time will be over. And if you are not on the new wallet, you will lose the coins that you have on the old wallet. Now, you probably heard me just say that new members get a gift. This is true. But if you have a wallet with 100,000 kringles, then you have way more wealth that you're sitting on than you're going to be getting with the new wallet. So it is very important, if you want to keep those coins, that you do your migration. In the description below, if you want to proceed with that, you can visit johnharder.com, and you will find all the information you need on there. Also with the $10 wallet fee, if you need help with that, I also have that in there. Now, I mean on my website as well. So with that said, I'm going to let you go ahead and find the information that you need. And now let me just go over to see what our chat has been, what we're up to here. Okay, so Augustine, thank you very much. I don't believe we've met before. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. I truly appreciate it. Marjorie Harder as well, I think. Thank you for being, for monitoring my my hangout. the chat. Diana Gordon, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I truly appreciate it. And you probably do hangouts too, which I have not seen any of them. If you do hangouts, please let me know which slot you have on the Kringle site, so that I can tune into some of your hangouts. I'd love to hear what your ideas are as well. Okay, and also let me just say here that if you don't know, if you're not comfortable with doing a hangout, and you would like to get comfortable with it, first of all, if you do need guidance as to how to set up the channel and how to set it up with Kringles and all that, I have a video that will show you all those details on johnharder.com. Okay, so you can find the technical stuff you can find on that video how to do. But let me just encourage you on the level of, if you are shy to do videos, let me say this. When I first began doing videos, I would dress up. I put on a suit and a tie, and I made sure, very sure, that the background behind me was very nice and all this and that. And I'd get in front of a camera, and I had no idea what to say. I just I did not know what to say. Well, that is how I started. I I was, and I never even realized that I was that camera shy. But you know what? By just doing it, just do it. Don't matter. Don't worry about how how shy you are or anything like that. Just do it. Once you start doing it, you will very soon realize this is actually fun. Okay. Now, I understand it may not be for everybody, but I encourage you to at least give it a try. You might just like it a lot more than you thought you would. Okay, so let's move on here. Serenes, thank you also very much from New Zealand. I really appreciate you hanging out with me as well. I don't believe I have seen you on my chats before. I love when new people come on. I appreciate it very much that you're here. And Mahalko 88, thank you as well. I truly appreciate having you again this morning. Is that all of them? Yeah. Okay. All right. Again, thank you very much for hanging out with me. I hope that I have inspired you in some way. And again, to those of you who are shy about broadcasting, trust me when I tell you, I really enjoy it. I do. If what I truly hope is that what I'm giving you is of value. And and I just absolutely enjoy it. So again, thank you very much for hanging out with me, and so we'll see you again tomorrow or perhaps tonight. Peace.